players in particular are, you were talking about earlier, but extremely strong players. They know how to play with each other. They understand each other's dynamics, and that's super important in a team setting in particular. So if you're Milky Way coming off of a team that just had that same blaster slosher combo, you know, maybe that warmed you up to play now here in grand finals.
Buddy, Super Jump 7 Alpha Grand Finals. Keep it together. We've got some more fun games. Will Milky Way finally lose a game on the loser's side? This would be the team to do it if it happened. And, you know, Rissa, we've kind of joked already about the mirrors and how so many teams now are kind of going and getting their attacks the same way. But it's not too often that we get to see double Crab Tank come out here from two players who are as good as Jared and Goss are at it. So you can see pivoting over here to find the best angle for it, trying to open things up for the rest of the squad, but it's going to be so difficult for Brand to make those dives if he's by himself.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very interested too. We from the crab tanks that we've seen both from Goss and Jared, it almost seems like Goss's are a little bit more supporty in a way and stays back and plays with the teammates from a long range. However, Jared is known to crab right in your face, crab super aggressively. So interested to see how that little storyline is going to play out too as we move forward.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. Again, we talked earlier about how Jared, a player who really will move forward and attack when the moment presents itself and not sit back. It plays so nicely there. Jared taking that. Are you talking about a crab tank in your face? How about a crab tank in the face of three players here? Brand more than happy to be like, hey, buddy, block all the shots for me. That's 3 down because of Jared's awkward crab there. Goss is probably going to jump out. No, maybe waiting here. I don't know. He's cooking something over there. Actually took one out. Now we'll make it a trade, but Milky Way is so close to already knocking this out. I can't believe it.
Yeah, we barely even really got to highlight and talk about these players, and Milky Way right now is counting down. Special Grade needs to get to the zone and at least paint it. Goss there tried to do everything he possibly could to get to the zone there on that right flank and wasn't quite able to do it alone, was immediately called out by people from Milky Way, and Goss had to start trying to take on a 1v1, a 1v2 instead of even painting the zone.
16 games in a row for anybody who's keeping count. 16 games in a row that Milky Way has now won, a good chunk of them being on Splat Zone. So, you know, they're happy that every stage or that every set is beginning on Splat Zones. But I love, you know, we've got these mirrors. We're like, oh, these are 8 players most people know about. Here it's games they've seen before. And I made the joke earlier, Milky Way always finds a way to show me something I've never seen before. And yes, we've seen bonkers crab tanks way up in your face, but Jared crab tanks there and just immediately goes into rolling form and is bouncing about like a pinball, and Brand comes in and dives in on the top of it. So how do you find ways to break back in situations or push the opponent back in awkward situations? You throw them a curveball, and sometimes the curveball happens to be a balled up crab tank.
Yeah, and if you're the other team, you know, typically you can just shred the other team's crab from a safe distance because crabs are typically done not as aggressively as Jared does them, and especially in that situation. But in this case, if all of a sudden Jared just crabs right in your guys' face and then Brand runs through that, how do you react to that? That was so difficult to react to, and I love too that Jared, like I was just talking about that, and then all of a sudden Jared does it.
Well, what else is also fun about that is you're then like, okay, there's a crab tank. Do we fire at it? Like now Brand's coming in and attacking you, and all the while that's just let Q and Ice reposition too. And that's the worst feeling is you're trying to deal with something else, and then the pencil that's across the map takes you out. And you're like, come on, we weren't even fighting. Why are you doing this to me? So listen, Milky Way's ability to improvise is unmatched, I would say, at least here at the top of North American and European Splatoon. Now, Special Grade, of course, very strong. I will be stunned if they take Milky Way back to Splat Zones over and over and over again. Surely they should have an advantage in one of the other modes that they want to try to exploit. But if this streak keeps going, again, 16 games in a row now that Milky Way has won. What a showing from them thus far.
I know they are definitely on a roll. It's almost seemed like them playing all those matches through the loser side of the bracket has warmed them up. They are on it. They just needed to lose that first match, and then all of a sudden they just have a flamelet under them because they are just on a roll. I mean, it's always interesting thinking about the endurance aspect of things like this, and if you're going to get tired playing that much Splatoon, but in this case, it almost seems like it's making Milky Way that much better.
Well, hey, if you're trying to build up your endurance, nothing is better than what Milky Way has gone through to win all of those games and all of those weeks of the Splatoon 3 North American League. For them, a 4-hour bracket is probably just a walk in the park. They've won so many of those that they've had 8-hour days, 9-hour days. Now they're probably feeling great. And I once again will remove my foot from my mouth because I did not think that Special Grade was going to take them back to Splat Zones. But then I saw Umami Ruins, and I thought, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. If there was ever a time to AoE attack your way through an opponent, this would certainly be the place to do it.
Yeah, that's a great point to bring up. It definitely makes sense why Special Grade would be going to this map in particular for Splat Zone. So it'll be, as we start out here, gonna see which team is able to initially take that upper top mid area. We talked about that previously as we were commentating another set. And looking at these two teams' comps, looks like no one is changed. Everyone is sticking with their tried and true.
All right, well then, I mean, if it's tried and true, Gray's got to find a way to move in and attack, and it's getting walled out here. You know, I guess that's one other thing about the comp that I haven't even thought about for Milky Way thus far. Double suction bomb? Just tossing a bomb up in the middle of all these fights, making it so difficult for the opponent to safely move forward, taking all of the little bits and pieces of damage. It's just bizarre. Soldier moving forward, and again, it just seems like every time one of these players is moving through, there's always a member of Milky Way that was pre-firing where they're at, and they have the lead here. They have Q up. They're lucky that they won that fight that they did, because if they hadn't, I think Milky Way would have pushed even further forward. Instead, now it's Special Grade who should have their way for the next period.
Yeah, Special Grade able to get control of both of the zones. They got to be careful, though, because Milky Way's up pretty close to the zone. Looks like Goss's Crab, though, paired with Soldier there on the right side of the map, is able to do a good job at pushing back Milky Way as there was a good amount of orange paint there that they were able to kind of safely stay in. But finally, Special Grade has the control top mid. We're seeing jump-ins come into the pencil, and as they have a decent amount of blue paint around the map, it looks like they're able to do a good job, at least consistently, of holding some space.
Well, and this is where this comp can be so strong, because we made the joke earlier that every time one member of Special Grade moves forward, it seems like someone is pre-firing from Milky Way. That is what Special Grade's comp is made to do. Every time you move forward, you're taking a hit from some AoE weapon, and you're not going to get through cleanly, so you're going to jump out. You jump out enough times on the opponent's side, you're eventually going to lose space. So again, Special Grade is going to continue to do exactly this. Fight forward, put some shots on different players. They're going to need a special to come up big. Again, it's going to be Jared's Crab takes one out and actually still knows where Goss is as well. So they should be able to fire over in that side and at least get themselves a foothold and a flip of the zone. But man, if they are desperately going to need Jared's Crab to make every big play against this team, it's going to be a tough comeback for Milky Way.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. It definitely will be really tough, and it seems like on the other side, Special Grade is using their crab tanks here, as we're seeing Goss use it as that more supportive type role and trying to create space from a distance with that instead of using it aggressively. And so far for them, it's working out really nicely. It seems like they're doing a good job at playing around those more long-range crab tanks.
I ooh and ah there, because this is exactly how the end of the bet set ended up looking, where Gray just finds a moment partway through the game and tears it open. And I know it's an S-Blast, and I know Gray is 5K, but streaks like that don't often happen, as Goss is going to get bashed out of that crab tank by another suction bomb. And, you know, if Gray hadn't made that play, they might still be losing points. Now Milky Way is certainly going to take these zones at some... Maybe? There were 4 of them there. Okay, they will take it. I guess they wanted to reposition first and not worry about it, but... Again, Gray's big plays opening things up. Now, will Jared answer with another big play? It appears with a little assistance, yes. And once again, Rissa Milky Way in a great spot.
Milky Way doing exactly what they do here for zone, setting up, making sure they're watching all different angles. But I don't know exactly what happened, but 2 members of Milky Way were called out there. Now we see Special Grade rushing forward, getting the zones once again and creating some space around them to be able to move around. But Milky Way, they're right back in the action here for defense. This is looking, okay, as I'm trying to talk about one team or the other, it's like a ping pong ball, just go back and forth, back and forth. This is actually turning into a super chaotic match.
Yeah, Soldier jumped out there, which probably means that eventually they'll be able to move in on Futa. What a
What the heck?
Garrett there in that position. And all the while, Special Grade will move forward. Listen, if there's any, okay, never mind. Gray's already moved up here. I got to talk about this instead. Gray's going to rotate back and continue to put pressure on. Of course, he goes down, and then Futa's going to go ahead and get another one down as well. It's all scrambles here. 2 go down on one side, but 2 were already down on the other side here. Goss is over on the crab tank, trying to figure it out. You know, Rissa, sometimes I think the view is harder for us as commentators, because at least all these players only have to worry about their special. We get to see all 8.
I know, right? This Splatoon 3 in particular is so fast-paced that as a commentator, I've had to like almost speed up my commentating to try and process everything that's happening because, you know, 1 minute you're talking about one thing happening and then all of a sudden something else chaotic is happening on the other side of the map, just super fast.
Well, here we go, talking about fast here. Jared not able to get the jump out there. That was a very ambitious play. Did it stall it out long enough for them to take the lead? Just a few seconds left, and here we go. A big fight over there. Now Goss turfing on. Just 2, 1. They have it, they take the lead.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy, I cannot tell you how close that was to not going into overtime at all, then to stopping in overtime and then being flipped for Special Grade. For Milky Way to hold through all that, to make that comeback through, I said it was going to be a real tough comeback for them in that game. It was. They needed every ounce of the game and a couple seconds of overtime. But, Rissa, we'll call that 17 games in a row now for Milky Way.
Wow. And just imagine if they win this next game and then there's going to be a bracket reset. And then if they keep winning, that's just going to be crazy. But I'm getting too far ahead of myself here. There's still one more game to be had.
I mean, just looking at the specials going on here, I mean, Gray was fighting with one member up there. I think it was Ice, it looks like, who was dancing with Gray there. Desperately had to stay up and continue the fight, and it appears that, yeah, those two were just firing at each other the entire time. Gray, it looks like, jumped over to try to assist on the other side, so I guess you can call that a win for Ice. And yeah, we jump really quickly, but in a situation like that, when you can force one member of the opposing team to not fire at the zone for, like, give me 15 frames of them not firing. Give me something when the margins are that razor thin. So here we go. Where are we counterpicking? Okay, tower control, Inkblot, fine. Like, again, how many games do I have to see Milky Way win on Splat Zones before someone takes them somewhere else? So here we go. Let's go old reliable. And, I mean, surely you would think that this would favor Special Grade with the way that they've been attacking, but just the out-of-the-box thinking and attacking from Milky Way, it's hard to even say that.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about it a couple times today, but just the way that Milky Way is able to improvise, that word in particular just really highlights what the way that Milky Way plays, because even if you think they're going to be put in a sticky situation, something's not going to go in their favor, all of a sudden Jared is crabbing in 3 people's faces, and Bran is running through that as Jared is in a crab tank ball. So it's like, I don't know, how do you counterpick Milky Way, who's able to essentially like make something happen no matter what the map and mode is?
Well, here you go. If there's ever a map and mode that should be well rehearsed, it's this one. And again, are there going to be any changes? Well, okay, now Goss is coming back here. So this was the change that we saw earlier. It worked quite well when Special Grade used it against Life Expectancy 25, and it is Goss instead on the splatter shot. And will be, I think it was, what, 3 different Inkzuka cyclings in one push they had earlier, Rissa?
Yes.
So clearly they have an identity, and this comp should give them an opportunity to showcase it.
All right, 2 members initially down here on, oh my goodness, on Special Grade, and Milky Way did not hesitate at all. They are on the tower. They are rushing forward, immediately taking space on Special Grade's side of the map, and that completely pushed Special Grade back in their spawn. They are getting their footing, though, back here, and they are dropping around the tower to make sure that they put a stop to what Milky Way is immediately doing.
Well, and Soldier absolutely freeing the game up in that position there. The bomb, the perfectly placed bomb to take out that crab tank, and then gets another player right on the respawn as well. So you call that a great defensive place. Now even have the opportunity to take out Ice. Certainly weakened if there's anybody there for some follow-up. It appears not, so Milky Way will have stabilized at least for the time being, but they did not get through that second checkpoint or even touch it, really, so that's kind of it's a nice opening push here. Certainly not going to be the game-winning one, but oh my gosh, Bran dodged that and actually trades it out. It's just Gray.
Yeah, Gray here pushing up under this ledge, poking at, gets Ice in those S-Blast pokes and is able to get called out, though, on the other side by Q. But, I mean, the way that Gray pushed up there under that ledge allowed time for their teammates to come in through mid. And again, this is one of those chaotic moments where both teams are in mid and just trying to get the upper hand on each other.
Well, I don't even know how Ice survived that Booyah Bomb. That was a Booyah Bomb right in front of opposing Plat with 2 players there. There must have been so much else going on that nobody could move their fire on the giant Booyah Bomb being charged. Now Ice is going to rotate over there. Gray actually got hit a couple times to do that. He's going to get taken down there. So again, the range of the pro being able to safely poke at some of these AoE weapons, making a big difference. Would love to try to take out Soldier here, who's now attacking. A nice rotation over there, and another Crab Tank to take one out. It's a scramble, but it's just going to be the pencil up here for Special Grade, so you'd think that Milky Way would have an opportunity. Marissa, I think all of them were down too.
Yeah, I think so as well. And the pencil there, Futa was able to just keep painting to try and create some space and push forward a little bit while both teams were coming back from spawn here. So again, the scramble in mid here, one team or the other has not really gotten the upper hand as this entire match has gone on.
Well, there you go. Now Goss charging forward, and this is certainly the opportunity. I don't think there's anybody back there who's even going to be able to flank or try to make a sort of an annoyance sort of play. All this time gone through, I don't know if I've seen a game between top players last this long when no one's gotten through the second checkpoint with 2 left. But as I say it, this should be the chance for Special Grade. Brand's going to try to make this interesting on the backside, but probably needs to rotate back and try to build Special here. I don't know what resources they have to stop this before it gets ugly.
Yeah, you can see Ice there trying to get that Booyah Bomb ready because they knew that they needed that to help stop the tower. There goes that Booyah Bomb behind the tower to push back the members of Special Grade, and you can see Ice here in particular is rushing through that with Jared to just use the space that that Booyah Bomb created. That has now allowed Milky Way to completely drop into mid here and pressure Special Grade out of mid.
Well, I mean, that might be all that ends up done here. Nice, beautiful play here by Futa on the pencil. So good showing there. Even gets a nice little tap shot to close out Ice. So ever since that initial double that really opened the door for Special Grade, they have not let go of the center of the stage. And you already see them, Rissa, pre-firing this other side, making sure that nobody can get up on this box for free. And yeah, you've got to rotate over, but Ice didn't have enough turf to move around safely. Gets swallowed up there by the Trizuka. Now Q goes down. All of those members were pushed up in the right positions, but instead it's all Special Grade here. That's 3 that's going down. They don't have to worry about the Crab Tank for a really long time, and that's the only defensive resource that has been working thus far for Milky Way. I think this is Special Grade's time to strike.
I do too. This is exactly it. And we see 2 members go down from Milky Way there by the Slosher player. And now through that second checkpoint, we see Goss and Futa riding that tower to make sure they got through that second checkpoint as fast as they possibly could. And now they are using this momentum to just keep holding as much space as they can. Right here behind the tower, the more space that they hold, the more aggressive they're going to be able to play. Futa playing really aggressively actually with that pencil there. Finally opts to jump out, but Goss showing us that he's also actually very good at playing frontline, as we all know. Even though he has been playing a little bit more supportive today, rushes forward and helps create that space with Futa.
Well, here you go. Just a few more seconds. And yeah, I mean, at this point, sit back, build up your special here, make things as difficult as possible for the opponent. I do say the streak will end at this point, and at 17 games, not another more on this streak. Special Grade gets their win. Great showing from them on tower control. Really, after that first big opening they got, you saw how difficult it is to get any real momentum started in a tower control game where, Rissa, as we all know, you need a lot to go your way to make a big push happen, especially at this level. And if Gray and Soldier are just able to trade it out multiple times, not going to be a great opportunity for the opponent.
Yeah, definitely. They're really going to have to make sure that they set themselves up, but even more than that, not just getting trades, but also making sure that you have specials ready. You have, your anchor player in a position that you're able to jump to, even if you get it traded out with a member of the other team. Just so many things do have to go right for you, in particular for tower control. And finally there, towards the end, Special Grade had everything going right for them and had that momentum.
All right, well, I guess another nice thing for Special Grade is you at least know that the opponent's not going to be able to take you back to Splat Zones now. Again, some pretty simple counterpick rules, and I love a good simple counterpick rule system, but when the opponent can't go back to the last mode that they won on, or any map that they've won on, it means that, okay, you took a couple shots on Splat Zones early, now they've got to prove that they can beat you in another mode, so we'll see what the counterpick is for Milky Way. It's been probably like 5 hours since they had to counterpick, period? 4 hours? Maybe they forgot how to do it.
I know. I was sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh, we get to see what Milky Way will actually pick as their counter pick now because we haven't even got to watch that or see that here on stream. So finally, we get to get a little bit in the minds of Milky Way and see what they might be thinking in terms of a counter pick here as we go into this next game 4.
Well, we can take a little break here. Again, a reminder for everyone who has come this far. First of all, we hope you've enjoyed the show. The teams have been showing out all kinds of stuff, but if Special Grade gets this reverse sweep, that's it. It's done and dusted. If Milky Way wins this, they will have to win a second set. And we're going to start on Clam Blitz. I wondered, Milky Way looks awfully strong on Clam Blitz these days. So put her there, put it on Museum, and let's fight it out.
Yeah, this definitely makes sense for a counter pick for Milky Way. I think watching them in particular in the Splatoon NA League recently, they do a great job in Clam Blitz. And this one too, Clam Blitz Museum was played so much that they have to be feeling comfortable on this.
Yeah, if you aren't used to this one by now, you just haven't been watching the North American League. Okay, this was one of, if not the most popular Clam Blitz stage. And of course, in those counterpick rules, you eventually have to go to Clam Blitz if a set goes on far enough. So here we go. Milky Way finally changing things up a little bit. And this will be, I wonder if it's going to still be the Forge for Ice here, because this is one of those stages where if you force all the opponents back, missiles don't give them a whole lot of room to maneuver around. Also, you've won a lot of games with the Forge, so maybe not messing with success.
Yeah, I'm very curious about that too. Goss actually going over to the Missile Pro. Okay, that is a big switch up that I was not expecting. And then Ice, as we were just talking about, does not switch over to that, is going to be sticking with that Booyah Bomb.
A half win for the commentators there. I had the right idea with the weapon. I just didn't think Goss would be the one playing it. Again, I know, like, oh, Crab Tank's strong here, but, like, I really think that Crab Tank, when it gets on an opponent's spinner here, makes it very difficult, but the range that you get to play at with that main weapon, and then again, when you corral them together, the missiles can get so much value in a relatively quick amount of time, so a couple members already going down here for Milky Way. Gray moving forward with a head full of steam and a head full of support from the rest of the squad. So, all right, it's again the Crab Tank from Jared kind of moving things back together and getting some sort of defense out of very little resources. But Special Grade, Rissa, starting to move at a slightly different pace.
They are. It almost seemed like they needed a little bit to warm up and get their momentum against Milky Way, because now they're playing a lot more confidently. They're playing a lot more together and knowing how they want to approach playing Milky Way. I mean, look at this. They're continuing to take down members of Milky Way and not giving up any space. Even if they have a member go down, they're right back in the action. And the remaining members are just able to keep taking down members of Milky Way, as we just saw Goss do exactly that.
I mean, that is the filthiest right side peek I think I've ever seen there. That was the very edge of what that weapon was capable of doing. And look how patient they're being, too. They've had both of these. They're not leaving here with only one of these power clams score. They're either scoring neither of these, and it looks like it's neither right now, or they're scoring both of them. And they may have, did they wait too long to try to move forward? You saw that, again, they're happy to wait for Milky Way to come to them and try to make a sort of mistake here. They need to get these big points because they know scoring against Milky Way is so difficult. They want to get the maximum value out of every dive they take.
Yeah, it almost seems like they're really just kind of baiting Milky Way in a way. They just kind of are like, hey, we're right here, you can get us, and then all of a sudden they'll back up and then take down the members of Milky Way that rush them. And however, as we're talking about that, finally Milky Way is now the team that's able to take mid and start pushing forward and has 22 clams at that. So let's see if now they're going to be able to utilize the space that they're taking and scoring these power clams.
Well, they are, and they got tacticoolered in the midst of it, too. They got a third one in that they snuck around somehow. Man, it's always that last player who's sitting with 6 clams that's the real threat in a Clam Blitz push. It's never the 2 actual power clams. It's the one that comes after. But because they also got tacticoolered, because of that lovely position that they had, the dive that they took to send 3 down it's really not even a punishment. Look at how much of the stage they still have. And my bad, Jared still has their spinner. He can actually build another power claim instantly if he wants to.
Yeah, he's sitting there with those 7 clams at the ready, and if he just gets one more clam and gets a good position, he can easily open up the basket. However, finally does get called out. It almost seems like this game has kind of flip-flopped here, and now it is Milky Way who has the upper hand and is seeming to just do a good job at continuing to keep mid and keep pressure onto Special Grade.
Well, and this is where the lack of the crab tank from Goss really sort of hurts because, again, you would love to, when you take an opponent's spinner, have that nice, long-lasting special that can fire at the opponents, identify where they're coming from, and just give your team a chance to move up and move through in that sense. Instead, now, yes, the missiles are great, but they're kind of a one-shot type of deal. Meanwhile, Jared's able to do all of this stalling. Now everybody can move up and support, so it's interesting and it's tough when you have to make those decisions in the split seconds, and Jared, I think, has gotten more value out of his crab tanks than the missiles thus far.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Jared's also been playing it more back and able to create space from afar and utilizing that for this huge map. This is a really, really big map, and you definitely need that extra range that crab tank has. So taking a step back here, looking at this match as it is, as we head into the last minute of this. Milky Way, they are still in the lead, but they do have a member down, and right now Special Grade is gaining ground right now as we're seeing the map turn very yellow. Specials coming out from them as well. They have a lot of clams at the ready too, and Soldier there goes to try and open the basket, does open up the basket, but is not able to get any follow-up clams. This is not looking good for Special Grade.
3 power claims there, and I thought with that triple ink strike, what they were going to try to do is sneak Gray in and then use that either from Booyah Bomb or just standing there as a jump point and jump all of those in, but they got taken out so quickly there, and again, in the heat of those moments, Milky Way is saying, okay, like, it doesn't matter what's happening, we're firing at the basket no matter what goes through, and that might be enough on the defensive side here. It's going to be a scramble for Special Grade, even to pull together some resources. They do have a power claim, so we'll get some overtime, but there's a lot of work to be done. How are they going to go about it? Soldier now moving up at the center. They're going to try to, I guess, go through spinner maybe? A nice throw there on those is at least going to move the members on the defense around, but 2 members had already gone down from Special Grade. They're going to hold on to this overtime as long as they can, but nowhere near the basket. And Milky Way, 3-1. They continue their dominance on Clam Blitz. And we have a grand finals reset, Rissa.
Yep, we have a bracket reset. So we are going to be resetting the score for those watching, since Milky Way did come from the loser side of the bracket and won here in grand finals. So now we are starting fresh. These 2 teams are going to be against each other still, but with 0-0. You know, maybe this can help Special Grade here take a breath, reset this. You don't have to know that you have those games that the other team won behind you, and just take a breather and reset.
I mean, we need a little reset here, too. This has been a lot, and it's been moving awfully fast. And hey, a shout out to the production team and the spec cams just for keeping up with all this, because